good people. Here we are once again. Your boys, when men speak. And I got with me tonight, Mr. Markeith Merritt, Eminem, Brother Bernard Chapman, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Clean. So, fellas, we are diving in once again tonight, picking up where we left off on the importance of safe space, creating a safe space. So, Brother Markeith,
Yes, sir.
kick us off, brother.
Yes, Lord. Hey, so for those of you that tuned in the last live episode we had, it was really, 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 really good. We had the females on here. You know what I'm saying? It got a little hot and heavy, but we got some we got some things addressed, and we got a understanding from both sides of the importance of creating safe spaces. What we want, being that we don't have the females on tonight, we got just the fellas, and we're gonna talk about desiring a safe space with the person you've been involved in with your significant other. Tonight we're gonna talk about safe spaces with significant others. All right. Probably the week after next, we're gonna probably talk about parenting and the importance of creating a safe space as a parent. But tonight we're gonna go into basically talking about the lack of having a safe space, what it did or what it allowed us to revert to or go into, and what we used or what we did to cope with not having a safe space. So when y'all hear me say that, what's the first thing come to mind or situation come to mind for y'all brothers, man?
First thing that comes to mind for me is instinct. I think that we are driven by instinct, and we're driven by our nature. We're designed a certain way, and our nature caters to how we are. I was talking to a brother last night, and he was literally telling me how his dad beat him for he was very young, and he was enticed, by another young lady, and he found himself in a compromising position at the church. And he was like, his dad, really got onto him and really whooped him like we got whoopings. And he said that his dad beat him because of the embarrassment. And my counter to that was, I would rather it had been because you were at church and this happened versus that your dad was embarrassed, because we are driven by instinct. And as men, we are created to have desires.
Right.
And we are created, our natures are just geared that way. So what comes to mind for me, when it comes to this is I need to be free with my instinct. Who I'm created to be, who I'm with has to be all right with that. Now, I'm not saying that it's all me and less of them, but I am saying that I need to be free enough to be free enough, right? Like when I feel comfortable, then we can begin to shape and mold this thing into what it should be, as she should. But never should there be a time where I should be embarrassed because of who I am and how I'm made by God. That should never be the case. And so once we get comfortable in that space, because of who we are and how we are, I think we open up those places where we're more vulnerable. Once you show me that I'm okay with my sex drive, I'm okay with, my work ethic, I'm okay with my prayer life. If I have one, I don't. I'm okay in this area. Once you show me that, then, you can open up the box and I show you more of myself, right? But I should never be ridiculed or criticized because of how I'm built. So once that's established first, we can go somewhere else. And that's where the foundation is, in my opinion, of how you begin to build and create that space. I look at Chiefs, man, like perfect example. You know what I mean? By design, it's who you are. And look at Tanya, man, and what you guys created. it's beautiful now. But in the beginning, right, it had to be. I had to reveal myself. I had to show, hey, this is me. And she took that and she built it into something amazing. She shaped it like a potter's wheel into something amazing. And that's where it all begins. So, I'll hand it over to y'all.
Man, it's funny you mentioned that because as you were talking, I started thinking about when it was every single time. Back then, it was every time. Every time I would preach, man.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know me. I'm transparent. I'm an open book.
Yeah.
I shared everything.
Right.
I overshared. Now, at this point, when I look back on it,
Right.
and that bothered my wife to no end. Oh my God.
Yeah.
She would always say, Mr. Hayward, you ain't got to tell them everything. You ain't got to share everything. Like, all our business don't need to be put out there like that.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, we would always get couples that would come to us and tell us they were struggling in this area. They were dealing with this and dealing with the things that I had shared.
Yeah.
They were feeling like, man, is it just us? Like, are we the only ones going through this?
Yeah.
But I knew that, but the place where my wife was at the time in her spirituality, in her relationship, she wasn't there to the point where she understood that it was our testimony and we were helping people.
Mm-hmm.
We're there now. She's there now, but back then it was a struggle, man. Yeah. I was just being who I am. I'm just being who God created me to be. That's all I knew. And it was a struggle for me, man, not to share or testify to what he had brought us through or what we were going through. And man, it was so hard. And I was like, man, you supposed to be my safe space. You supposed to be, like, yeah, babe, I mean, but, and so that took us a long time to overcome that. What we have now is built off of where we come from and what we grew from and what we've grown into. But I was sharing with Markeith earlier when we were conversing prior to the call on some of the things that
hey, real quick before you go into that though. What we saying? So what I'm hearing, right, is the majority of us fear being vulnerable and and fear being transparent and don't want people to see us in the light of who we really are, the light of our humanity, of what we really going through. Is that kind of sort of what we kind of saying?
The bad part about what you just said is the only time I felt that way is when at the more and more I got into church. That's when I really felt like, man, I can't really show them, who I really am. I got to be a certain way around certain people and I realize now it's because of where they are, not me. It wasn't me, it was them. But I never felt that way outside of church. Only when I started going to church, consistently and start being involved and a part of the leadership did I feel that way, which is sad. Yeah. Because I shouldn't have to. But outside of that, man, I've always been open and transparent and honest about who I am.
That's you, but my question is cause that's you. And I've always been that type of individual too, right? That's you, but I'm saying the majority of people, for instance, your spouse, most of the people that we are around, even though, we go in more than the circle of church.
No doubt. Yeah, I think I can honestly say the majority of people, yes. I think I can honestly say the majority of people yeah, aren't that way.
Hey, real quick, were you guys able to share and share?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
All right. What are your thoughts, Chap?
I think that unchurched people aren't that way. I think unchurched people are more open. I think unchurched people are more accepting to wherever you are when they meet you. I think church people are very difficult to break into, because that's what religion does to people, and it's hard to translate marriage, you know,
So,
by by the way of church, because it's hard to put what they're saying into my house and into my bank and into my bed. Those aren't easy things to do. And so, like Chiefs was saying, when couples came to them, they were shocked because how do you translate that? It's a different language when you come from a brick and mortar church and try to bring it into your house and learn how to be okay with that. And when you are outside of the church, which is, I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, but I think people are in there in how they think, they're more receptive. And when you are in the church and you try to do these things, people reject the notion, those kind of notions of you being who you are in the bed, or who you are and how you spend, or who you are and how your thoughts are and how transparent you are. It's going to rub people. And it's not because you're wrong. It's because they've been churched,
so
and that's kind of what religion does to you. It churches you and boxes you in, and kind of holds you up from actually being free. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking against the church. I'm just speaking from experience with the church.
man, you ain't even got to put that disclaimer out there. So check it. If that's the case, though, why is it, whether you're church or unchurched, why is it that we having a problem creating the safe space and can't really receive things and hear what us men are saying in relationships when we're just giving you truth?
So look at it like this, man. Think about when you first meet someone, and let's say somebody you're interested in dating, or getting to know better. When we talked about this before on the show, when you first meet that person, you meet their representative. On both sides, you don't get the full person. You don't get who they truly are, because they most people feel like if I show you who I truly am, rip, you probably gonna run away. Because most of us come with baggage, we come with stuff, and we come with all this other, So the person you first meet is probably the representative. So I think that's probably true for most people. So even more so for church folks, because they got to put the mask on. Because I can't, I need you to think I'm all prim and proper and all, in order. But most people, man, when you meet the representative at first, because I got to get to know you before I can feel comfortable enough or safe enough to show you who I truly am, and without running you off.
Right.
I got to warm you up to that.
Right.
That's a gimme. But when we done establish this relationship, when we done say that, and then the layers been pulled back, you know what I'm saying? Why after all this time, why can't I still be vulnerable with you and be truthful with you where I am? When you understand my heart is pure and my heart is with you, why? What's the issue? Why can't men, you know what I'm saying, speak truth? Why can't men be vulnerable like they want to be with women?
Well,
I mean, that's church. That's church, unchurched, whatever. That's in relationship. Period. No matter whether you church or unchurched.
It's relationships are like investments. How aggressive do you want to be? With your risk. And so it's not going to always be the other person's fault that you're not as vulnerable as you want to be. Men in general, it's harder to crack that egg than it is for women. Women will open up to you a lot easier than a man will. My mom created a beautiful space for my dad, and he never showed her. He never revealed himself, his naked Garden of Eden self, his Adam. He never revealed that to her. And I believe that Had he been conditioned to be that person, then they would have been a lot better. But he wasn't conditioned to be that man. And it wasn't because she didn't create a space for him to be that man. She loved him. I think that she died because of heartbreak, because she died right after him. So I don't believe that it's a one-sided thing when it comes to safe space. I think that you have to be courageous enough to open yourself for one, right? And then on the other side of that, that person has to be accepting enough or has revealed themselves enough to show you that it's okay. And if you really want to be better for you, even if that person doesn't show you it's okay, you have to understand that even if they don't think it's okay, I need them to know who I am. And whatever they do with it after that, at least they see me. Right. When I walked away from, let me say I walked away. When my marriage ended, I had no regrets. But because it wasn't because I didn't put myself on the table. That wasn't the case. It's because I put myself on the table and nothing changed. And so it's not a one-sided thing when we talk about safe spaces. My dad, on the other hand, my mom created a beautiful space for him, and he never revealed himself in vulnerability, ever. He revealed himself through hard work, working long hours, being that man that was gone, showing up just enough to be relevant, but he never revealed himself to the point to where, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, or this is what I've gone through. He never showed that to her. And it's not to say that she didn't give him the room to do it. So it's a two-headed coin. Like you have to be, as a man, you have to be courageous enough to say, hey, I'm going to do this. And then your mate has to be able to say, let me create this so they can be that person. So
I agree with that. I agree with that
Yeah.
whole heart. However,
Come on.
what I'm talking about those of us who are trying to be vulnerable, who
Yeah.
are trying to be upstanding,
Yeah.
who are trying to communicate our heart.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Like what's so hard about like receiving truth for what it is? I seen this thing about on TikTok about how a woman said that man can go to a woman and tell her give her his greatest secret and be vulnerable with her, and she would turn around and make it all about her.
Well,
Not
that's
seeing
Bible.
last time we talked on not hearing the heart of the man, but because she's triggered by what he said or how he said it,
Right.
which in turn causes him. We're gonna talk about this with Chancey too, and as well as you, which in turn cause him to not be vulnerable anymore and not communicate.
Okay.
And for some people, it has caused them, again, we talked about this, to go step out and to deal with and create, well, not necessarily safe spaces for themselves, but cope with elsewhere.
So Samson and Delilah, right? She made it all about her, and he made it all about intrigue, because that kept her interested in him, the version of himself that he wanted her to see. So the riddles, it wasn't about him not wanting to expose himself. It was, he knew that this is the only way I can keep her. Y'all with me? It wasn't about him. I'm gonna present these riddles to Delilah, because if I don't, I can't keep her. And a lot of men find themselves in that place where if I don't be this version, I can't keep her. Now, the other side of Solomon, he had so many skills, so much anointing. This dude was it, but he never revealed that self just because of his anointing. He never revealed that he was anointed like this. He always riddled about his strength. He knew that this is the only way I'm going to keep this woman. And today, 2024, we're still living with that that Samson syndrome. Like, this is the version of myself that I need to give to her in order for her to stay, in order for him to stay. And the hardest thing we have to do is get to the other side of that, so a person can really see who you are. And that's where that space is that you're talking about, because it's not easy. As you know, I don't care how much money you make, or how much you can bench press, or whatever your thing is. A lot of times we go through so much that if I don't present this version to her, then I'm gonna lose her.
So,
I'm gonna lose him. And that's
so
that Samson syndrome.
like just like you said in the beginning, it's like how much you want to risk. Like
Yeah,
the stake is high. Either
yeah,
you all
yeah,
in
right.
and willing to just risk it all
Yeah,
and give
yeah,
all yourself,
yeah,
scary
right,
already anyway.
right,
It's
right.
already scary for me to just be vulnerable. I just want to, when people be saying, I just want to give you all of me.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you really handle all of me. You
yeah, right.
you hear women
And
say that all the time.
and she couldn't handle all of him. I don't know why we're going here, but I thank God she couldn't handle him, because in every situation where there was a riddle, there was also a place of bondage, also a place of hostage, also a place where she hindered him from either seeing or moving. Right?
Why? And you're saying that's because she couldn't receive all of him.
Yeah. So she wasn't ready for that version of him where he could actually have vision, or he could actually move. She was only ready for the version of him, or only wanted the version of him that she connected with in the beginning, where love looked like lust. That's the only version of of Samson that she wanted. She didn't want the version where he could move them forward, or she had vision. So she always blindfolded him, or she always tied him up, right? And that's what the toxicity of relationships, they do that. When it's toxic and you're looking for something, I feel like I got to keep you, and I'm going to be this way. And even when I'm trying, that person is either going to blindfold you with manipulation, right? Or they're either going to tie your hands or your feet so you can't move. You feel like if I move and I say what's right and I do what's right, they're going to have a problem with it. So we stay tied up, or we stay blindfolded, and so we stay in that place versus saying, I don't need no blindfold today. Give me my shoes. Right? So we stay there versus actually being who and what we're supposed to be, regardless of the vote. Right? We stay in that place because if I don't, then I'm going to find myself alone. Samson, I keep saying Solomon. Samson was a strong man, but he was weak at heart. Right? And, truth be told, a lot of us deal with that Samson syndrome. We stay where we are because for the sake of who we're with, we know if I'm really my true self, then I might lose them. So I don't want to be vulnerable because I'll lose.
And everything that's attached to them.
Yep.
Go ahead, bro. You bubbling. Go ahead.
Man, listen here, boy. This thing here, boy. Oh my God. Teaching open a can of worms, bro. So check this, man. When you are, God Almighty, when you are so encapsulated in being someone else for them, trying to keep them, and you're not being true and authentic to yourself, you're killing you
That's what I
so
want
they
to
can
know.
live. You know what I mean? But all the while you're killing yourself so they can live,
they're still dying.
they're still dying because, and here is the reason why. Here's the reason why. This is more important. I don't want to say more important, but this is really critical when you start dating someone, as opposed to when you've already been in a relationship with someone for a long time. There's a different strategy there, but I just had somebody come to my office this today. He just started dating this young lady, and he sat down and he was like, he said, Mr. Hayward, I can't do relationships. He's been retired, living good, doing good on his own, good life, debt free, good brother, be a good catch for a young lady. Done his work, knows himself, done did that look in the mirror, identified his own areas, done worked on himself he's ready to be a husband.
Right.
Found this young lady he's interested in, and I think they probably been seeing each other for about 2 months now. He comes to my office, he said, I can't do a relationship, Mr. Hayward. I said, what's going on, bro? He says, she got too much stuff going on. And I'm not ready to invest my time in someone who hasn't taken the time to do their work like I did mine. Because now, like as I told him, like I tell everybody else, you got one or two options. You can walk alongside them as they walk down their journey of work, or you can walk away. It's up to you. You get to make the choice. So he's like, yeah, but only when you've done your work and you've spent that time with yourself and you've worked on yourself and made your weaknesses your strength and done all that hard work.
Yeah.
Are you in a position to now identify someone who hadn't done those things?
Right.
But also say, you know what? I'd rather be by myself than to walk with somebody through that, because I didn't do that to you. And I'm not going to pay the price for what somebody else did for the sake of being with you. When you do your work and you get to that place, come holler at me. Mm-hmm. So I totally understand where he is in that, but it's when you've invested in yourself like that, it's hard to walk through somebody else who. So if why would you want to wait till you get yoked with me to want to now say, okay, I'm ready to do my work because I got somebody beside me? No, I didn't do that to you. So don't wait till you get here, because how do I know you're gonna really do it?
Right.
You may just half-ass it because for the sake of tagging me along, and you might do a little something now, and then you get complacent and you fall back, and here I am, like a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in.
Yeah.
She's still, or they still making, if I say something, okay, you tighten up for a little while, then you go back. But all the while, I'm 1, 2, 3 years in. I've done my work, but now you tagging me along. Now, if you already in a relationship, you already married.
Hold on. You gotta be married, just in a relationship for a while, right?
Well, you already in a relationship for a while. Okay, you've been in a relationship for a while now. You got to understand this. When you got into a relationship, you had to learn how to cohabitate with one another. We both came into this thing with our own stuff. Uh-huh. But even in the midst of that, let's say you on a path or a journey to become a better version of yourself. Uh-huh. But you don't see that same drive and motivation and pursuit for it with them as you are. Still, you got the same choice. You either can walk alongside them or you can walk away. It's the same choice.
Right.
Now go back to what you said, Married, about risk, or a chap about risk. Am I willing to take the risk in walking away, or am I willing to take the risk in staying, hoping that they're going to invest the time and the work and the work ethic to become a better version of themselves? That's the challenge that most people that's in relationship that are kind of one-sided now are facing. That risk of walking away or the risk of staying, hoping that things are going to get better.
So,
yeah.
So one thing I want to say real quick now.
Come on.
We just talked about dying on the inside, right? And trying to grow and all these things. But now, we always talking about we supposed to be sacrificial. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that we talk about. Talking about Christ, so loved the world that he gave his life for it.
Come on with it.
You know what I'm saying? And their husbands or significant others is supposed to do the same for the people that they're linked with. So how long am I supposed to sacrifice in this context? How long am I supposed to sacrifice myself and die to myself? While I'm dying, I'm not just literally dying when we talk about dying to myself, doing what I want to do. Dying to myself and becoming who I need to become and being fully who I am. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
But
understand.
you telling me, you know what I'm saying, that I'm supposed to sacrifice it all the way to death? Come on now. And then now I become unequally yoked. Come on now.
Yeah.
And so
So
I'm coming to you, sharing my heart to you in love. Letting you know that you have my heart. And I want to share with you my life, my struggles, for you to cover me. Not for you to be upset and be triggered, but for you to cover me and understand that I'm out here struggling. Instead of you
so
getting mad about it.
it's not easily done, but two things here. The value of progress has to be greater than your value of maintaining. It has to be greater. Like, and that's it. The value of progress has to be more valuable to that person than the value of just maintaining, just existing. I was in my garage a couple nights ago, and God spoke to me about below average grades.